Do you know what style of leadership you use most often? Some styles of leadership promote collaboration, whereas others promote competition. Maybe you're leading a software team, or maybe you're leading a sales team, but does it matter how you lead them? Maybe somebody at work has told you to create a more collaborative environment, but they didn't tell you how to do that. In this video, we're going to look at 4 different styles of leadership and the impact of leading in that way. And you'll be able to get a sense of what it looks and sounds like to lead in a way that's maybe unfamiliar to you. So let's get started. We're now going to look at 4 different leadership styles, and I hope that this is going to be illuminating for you if you're trying to either up-level your leadership or try different things with your team, or if you're struggling with your current team and getting the outcomes that you're looking for. This could be helpful. So the first style we're going to look at, we're going to call directing/controlling. And in this paradigm, essentially the model is the people on the team report into the central governing person. And for our illustration, that's going to be you. Let's say you're their manager, or you're the project manager, or somehow you're accountable for what the team is up to. And in this paradigm, this way of leading, the way you communicate, the way you expect others to communicate with you on the team is that they push information to you so that you can gather the facts and you're the one making all the decisions about things. And, this is a very old and common way of leading. And, you may find yourself leading from here a lot, especially if you're one of those kind of natural born leader types where when there's a lot of chaos, people clearly don't know what they're doing, you are one of those people who feel compelled to step in and provide leadership, provide direction. This might be a very comfortable place where you lead from often. And, that's great. It's especially really great, this kind of leading, where the team doesn't know what they're doing. They might be new in their career. They may not be subject matter experts where you can rely on them to make responsible choices. They might be new as a team itself. You cobble together a bunch of people. They kind of don't really know how to interact. And you're providing a lot of leadership. Your presence is impactful in the meetings, in the direction. You're providing a lot. You're kind of up under the team, making things happen. And the challenge for a lot of leaders and people that I speak to is that they are looking for their team members. They're looking for these teal people here, these teal colored members. They're looking for them to take on more responsibility or step up and own something. And this we're going to look in a moment at the end of this, we're going to recap and kind of see how these differ from each other. But this leadership style in particular doesn't allow a lot of space for people to take on accountability and ownership, because with accountability should come some kind of authority of, if I'm going to own this, I should have some degree of flexibility or agency over my domain of what I'm saying I'm going to own. But if you're making all the decisions and everyone understands that you're the decision maker, that doesn't create a lot of space for people to step up and provide something, even if they might be able to. So the second style we're looking at today is something we're going to call coordinating/advising. And these titles refer to how you, again, the pink dot here, how you are engaging with these other members. And in this style, the main difference from our previous example is that the information sharing switches to a more bi-directional emphasis. So you probably in this paradigm spend at least as much time trying to share information with them, push information to the team members, making sure they have the context, as they do reporting up status to you and reporting into you about what's going on. And another key difference here is that you expect them to make decisions. This means now that people may be subject matter experts, or you just need help from other people. You can't be the only one making decisions, the only one doing all the thinking about what should happen, or if we should do A or B. So you're delegating decision making to them. Now, this is probably the mode that we're all most familiar with, because this is mostly how businesses and organizations are structured. There's a boss in charge and they have direct reports, and there's a whole hierarchy of this kind of thing where I'm delegating a certain piece of the accountability to you. You're accountable for this part. I'm accountable for the bigger part. My boss is accountable for all my stuff and all your stuff and all that stuff. And this is fine. But one of the differences between this and some of the other modes we're going to look at is in when you're communicating with the whole team, a lot of times what can happen is the conversation can kind of narrow in scope, where you're kind of getting status from them, or you're talking to them about what they should be doing, and it feels almost like you're having a one-on-one conversation in the meeting. And even though you might not be feeling that way, or the person you're interacting with may not feel that, because you're actually engaged in a conversation, the other team members will often be wondering, what's in it for me? Why am I listening to this? That's their job. That's their work. This is my lane. I'm staying in my lane. What does this have to do with me? And so the way that the team members listen is kind of like, just let me know when you want me to do something specific. And you don't get as much collaboration as you might like. And we're going to look at some other models that are kind of designed more for a collaborative environment. So your people, they may not be listening. They may evacuate the scene as quickly as possible whenever they can get off the meeting. The third style we're going to talk about is we're going to call participating/collaborating. And in this style, you're de-emphasizing the importance of your authority. Now, you may still actually have authority, but you are not bringing it up all the time, or it doesn't show up in the conversation that much, because you're neither making the decisions, nor are you getting status from every single person. You're participating more like an equal on the team. And maybe a helpful way to think about it is, rather than you lowering yourself to be an equal, you might think of it more like you're elevating all the team members' importance, because they have different expertise than you. They have different knowledge than you. And as a result, you're looking for them to participate more like a trusted partner, like a collaborative team member. And that kind of frame of mind, or that perspective, can impact how you talk, how the conversation goes, and all of that impacts the general kind of culture. You like to use culture as a buzzword, but there's a culture of the team, and you are shifting it from those other modes where everyone's you're the person in charge, to what are we doing as a team. And one of the things that you'll notice about this mode is that the way the conversation goes is the decisions tend to show up in the conversation. There's not often a decision maker for every single decision. And some of that stuff, you may still have a racing matrix, but that stuff kind of decreases in importance. And what becomes more important is, what's the goal for the team? Are we achieving our goal? Does anyone see anything that is getting in the way of our goal as a team? And so what tends to happen is, as you're leading in this mode, people tend to share information when it's pertinent to whatever the topic is at hand. They may not wait their turn. They may not only talk to you. And so what you're getting out of leading this way, even though maybe for some people it kind of seems like, I worked so hard my whole career to, become an authority in my field, or become someone that people look up to, why would I kind of lower myself, or sort of lead in this I'm not a team member anymore. I've moved beyond that individual contributor role. And that may be the case, and that's totally valid. But if what you're looking for is to create an environment where people are sharing information much more readily, much more transparently, this could be a way that you can create that kind of environment where people feel safe to do that, where it's a little bit less formal, and people just share what's there, even if it's not a fully formed thought, or if they're not worried about getting the right answer or looking good in front of their boss, because you're downplaying the importance of that kind of thing. Now, you might still nominate decision makers for key decisions or key areas where you need someone to cut through the intention to create consensus, like can't get consensus on the team. If we can't figure it out, you make a call, and that's fine too. So delegating and empowering is the last one we're going to talk about. And this is where maybe you've sort of replaced yourself as the collaborative team captain. Maybe you've nominated another facilitator or project manager or something like that. Or maybe just somebody on the team shows up and provides their leadership and their style, and that creates that kind of dynamic on the team. But the key thing here is that you have delegated decision-making authority to the team for most things. They're owning maybe not the direction, but they're owning the way, the how of how we're going to solve the problem. And you may still veto certain things, but the more you veto their decisions and their direction, the more you're moving the culture of the team back towards the first kind of styles that we talked about, which tend to be less collaborative and tend to rely on you more. Now we're going to do a quick recap. So on the left-hand side, you're going to experience that you have more control over the action. Obviously, you're directing what's happening. You're maybe providing instruction. On the right-hand side, you're going to experience that you have less control over what's happening. And this can be one of the biggest challenges for people who want to create a more collaborative environment. The challenge is they need to relinquish a lot of sense of control that they had about certain things. And a tip here is to establish specific working agreements with the team about what things you still feel the need to have direct decision-making authority about, but not have it be that you're by default the decision maker for everything. We talked about in the beginning why anyone would look outside of the way that they just naturally lead a project or a team. And if you're experiencing a lot of pain because your team aren't really showing up and you feel like you're dragging them all the time, consider that it might be time to look on this right-hand side of the continuum here and see if I can stimulate a more participatory or collaborative environment. On the left-hand side, success depends on you. The project either succeeds or fails because of you. And for some people, that's threatening. For other people, that's a comfort zone. And on the right-hand side, the success depends more on the team. And again, for some people, that's threatening. And for others, that's great. It's not all up to me. How you resolve issues on the left-hand side tends to be simple. If there's a problem, do something about it. If you're a very action-oriented person, this might be the comfort zone for you. I'm just going to do something about it, and that's great. But on the right-hand side of the continuum, oftentimes you may be abstracted from what's happening. You might not have all the information to make decisions. You might not even be the right one to make decisions about certain things. And that means that your impact on the resolving of issues tends to be more influential. Hey, everybody, this is really important. This matters to us. This is of strategic importance to the company, or this is a risk. Don't neglect this, that kind of conversation. On the left-hand side, you're providing direct instruction. On the right-hand side, you're providing more vision. Why are we doing things? Here's why this matters. Here's why you should care. Here's why this is cool. On the left-hand side, your time investment is very high. It's all up to you. It all depends on you. You kind of can't take a vacation. When you're not there, people there's a lot of swirl and things are not really getting done. And again, this can lead one to experience feeling needed and making a difference. And it can be really threatening to create an environment where your team sort of doesn't need you around all the time. But the payoff, besides the fact that you've got a bunch of people working collaboratively to solve problems and you don't have to figure it all out, another key aspect is you don't need to be engaged that much. That means you buy some time back, and this might be a requirement for you. This could be one of the reasons that's holding certain leaders back from moving up in the organization and taking more responsibility, is that they need to make themselves redundant because their teams need to be able to operate without them there, supervising everything all the time. And the last point here is that the scalability of the team. When you are giving a person a task or a series of tasks, they only have so many hours in every day. And, they're only as creative or, innovative as they are. And if they're not figuring things out, then they're going to come to you and ask you to try to solve it. And like we just established, maybe you don't have time to figure that all out. On the right-hand side, when you give a project or an outcome to be solved by a group of people, especially if what needs to be done doesn't have a clear right answer, or maybe there are multiple good solutions to that kind of thing, this is the payoff of the cross-functional team. It's not just a buzzword. You're actually engaging lots of different diverse perspectives because what you're working on needs that kind of nuance and different paradigms to the conversation for it to be understood. Typically, we're talking about software development or really highly complex kind of work.
If this was helpful, give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks very much.